Hello, YouTubers out there. This is Jerry Sadovia at the movies. So I picked more or less a nice, calm, outdoorsy type of woodsy area to discuss this. So why not? In terms of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which at this point, it feels like forever since I've been defending this movie. Um, but there are a lot of naysayers, and that's how it goes. So there was a recent article by Screen Rant, and I bring this up because in the article they state that there's a plot hole in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Now, there are a couple of plot holes to be sure in that movie. Generally speaking, I don't think any of them really stand out too much, other than the mythology of the Crystal Skulls, as mentioned. But that's not what the article was talking about. They were talking about the fact that Professor Indiana Jones is in a situation, a very sticky situation, because the film is set in 1957, during the Red Scare, the Red Menace that was looming, which turned out to be a lie, and his association with Irina Spalko, played by Kate Blanchett, and in a U.S. government territory, Area 51, and the situation being that, of course, she's a Soviet agent, and a lot of these comrades and Soviet soldiers pretended to be Americans, and they shot down all the U.S. troops and military that were in that area, military police. So he comes back to his college and discovers that FBI agents, have been perusing through his belongings and ransacked his office and all this other stuff, accusing him of being, or at least accusations possibly being either a communist or a communist sympathizer because of this particular association with Irina Spalko, and also his friend Mac, played by Ray Winstone in the movie, who basically sold himself out to the Soviets. Now, who do you think is really a greater a much greater threat, Mac or Indiana Jones, right? So, but anyway, Mac did it for the money, not for the ideology. But nonetheless, this situation happens, and so Jim Broadbent plays another professor, or basically, I forget if he was he's the museum curator, basically the same role that played by Denholm Elliott back in the day as Marcus Brody. So he's that type of character. So he tells him what had happened and so on and so forth, and he says, you don't know what it is I had to do to get your salary to continue despite all this, that you have to take an involuntary leave of absence from the college. Which, involuntary leave of absence, particularly for a tenured professor, would be about a year or so. So not that he's necessarily fired, just that he has to take a leave of absence. And that is the detail that was missed by Screen Rant. It's not like in other types of stories that we've heard, particularly real true life stories of communist sympathizers who couldn't work anymore because of, communist ties or sympathies or whatever, being named by others. In this case, it's not like Indiana Jones was named by somebody who was a communist as a communist sympathizer. It's just the supposed, false allegation that there is some sort of a camaraderie with this group, in particular of Irina Spalko, of course, which there isn't. So because his salary can continue, that's a detail that was missed by Screen Rant. His salary can continue because Jim Broadbent decided he would resign in order for Indiana Jones to continue getting a salary at the college. This is just a movie. I mean, this is all fictional anyway. So true to form, yes, in real life, perhaps, if he was actually named publicly, he would have lost his job. But he's not. It's just the FBI agents. So there's no moment in the movie that suggests there was a newspaper article outing him as a communist sympathizer, which was not the case. So Screen Rant kind of just missed out on those details. And so by the end of the movie, and basically a lot of these Soviets being sucked into the UFO at the end of the movie, and Irina Spalko basically dissolving into nothing, he becomes Indiana Jones becomes Dean of Students. And so it makes sense that his job would still be, protected. We don't even know the time frame in which the events that occur in Crystal Skull led to him eventually returning to America and then marrying Marion Ravenwood. So you have to imagine this has been quite a few months that have, progressed. But this is just a movie, and it's a fun little detail to talk about for a movie that I still like very much. And I actually watched it just the other day, and I thought to myself, this is still a pretty damn good movie. Crystal Skull, it changed the genre a little bit in terms of the usual types of relics that he would go after and all this other stuff. But, as an Indiana Jones fan, which you don't have to be to like the movie, because you could be a fan and not like it, which of course there are many. But it still works for me. I don't really understand some of the hate towards it, but that's the way it goes. But as far as Screen Rant, this is not a plot hole. So there you have it. The plot hole does exist with the 13 crystal skulls that somehow the missing one merges and it becomes one alien. I still don't even understand that. That to me is not very clear. But then again, there are moments like that in the other Indiana Jones movies. I mean, how did Indiana Jones know to close his eyes and tell Marion to do so when the Ark of the Covenant was open? There was no scene in the movie that suggests, even though there actually was a scene, it was either deleted or I think only in the books, or the novelization of the film, particularly the comic book, that there was that sage who warned him not to look at the Ark. But on the other hand, if there are spirits coming out, maybe you're not meant to see it with human eyes. So he was actually smarter than all the Nazis put together, including the French archaeologist. So he knew better, Indiana Jones, which is sometimes the case. He just knows better. And anyway, that's all I got to say. So not a plot hole. But if some of you disagree, please tell me what you think. But those were the details of Crystal Skull. And that's all I got to say on that. Please subscribe to my channel. Pretty soon I will do a Twin Peaks Fire Walk With Me review, which I've seen the film several times, and I just received the Criterion Collection DVD of it, and wish to expound on it, because I really like David Lynch. I think he's one of the few real masters of cinema that we have. So, leaving that aside, please subscribe and hit like, and that's all I got to say on that. This is Jerry Sadovia at the Movies, signing off.